this gunfight, and he catches Mikey looking the other way. That's a quad kill from Bry. Flies up the stairs. His teammates should be able to trade this. It's just an Yet he gets a 3K with an and he's got the stubby out. He gets 4. What in God's green earth just happened?
As Reedson goes into the default plant by Tetris. No more C4 anymore from the Malusi, so he's gonna have to go drive! And he gets 4! What? Both these attackers rather low. There it is, but Twizzler was actually picked up in time. 12 seconds left. Vivid still needs this 4th kill. There it is through the wall.
After's just getting the bomb down. He doesn't care, but the impact downs him. They have to go for these kills. With 3 seconds left, Silent lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time. The ace from Silent. The 1v3, 2 for Mystic now. And we're 4-3, almost tied up.
And we are back for more SCS action. It is day 3 of our Swiss stage, the first games from the second round of the Swiss bracket. And, well, I'm Golem Molu. I'll be here for the first 2 games this evening, and joining me is the wonderful Joe. How you doing, my man?
I'm great. You know, this is my first cast in SCS. I'm really excited for it. And I mean, as we keep going through this Swiss stage, you're going to start to see these matchups, I feel like, get a little bit closer just because, you know, the more you have it, you know, like, you know, these teams are both 0-1, you know, or teams are both 1-0, you know, the records are going to be similar as a Swiss stage is. So, you know, games seemingly might be a little bit better and closer as we keep going. So I love to see that. I'm sure everyone else does too. And, you know, a great day of that today.
Yeah, and we're going to give a quick recap of yesterday's games. I mean, Joe, talk me through this first one, S2.
Yeah, S2, a great performance from them. Look, you can say whatever you want about the amount of effort given from Parabellum, but this new look S2 roster, which it really is a new look S2 roster, performed great in their first real game together. I mean, Reverse had a Herculean performance, an 18-9 from him, and a big win from them to get it off. And I mean, going to that second game, Galu, I mean, Vipers, tough one.
Yeah, that one was a little bit interesting, right? You're looking at some of these border plays, it was a little bit scrappy. Vipers coming in as that Challenger League squad, you're expecting them to be the ones with the upper hand. The new pickup, Drixus, not quite having the impact I think lots of us expected him to have here, but ultimately still able to take that win away, despite Collegiate holding it close.
Yeah, and this Wichita aerial ACAD game, really big, probably the best game we really had yesterday. I mean, look, JJ talked a lot going into this game about the one ending this aerial ACAD run, and this was their first ever loss as a team together. So it's going to be interesting to see how they bounce back today, but a really tough one from them. I mean, getting Spiker back into the lineup as well, you figure they'd have a little bit more of an advantage on that, but as we know, they may not have had the reps that they wanted going into that. And the last game, OXG.
Yeah, they put on an absolute clinical performance against the Rebels. You're playing a map like Bank, a map where teams, when they get their teeth into it, and Oxygen, they're the Pro League team, they know exactly what they're doing when it comes to Bank. They were very good at clearing out this roam from HK Rebels, just forcing them into sight, keeping it close, just giving them no real movement, and you're looking at the scoreline, 7-2 for Oxygen. That is a statement coming in, and Rebels, a team who looked pretty dominant, pretty scary at times throughout the invitation qualifiers, didn't quite have that same sort of bark to their bite this time around, and Oxygen take that first, an important win for them, jumping up through, because like you mentioned, it's that Swiss bracket. You want to get that first win. You want to look for the 3-0, just get promoted very easily.
Yeah, and you want these wins as early as possible. You'd rather find yourself in that 2-0 area, that 2-1 area, rather than kind of fighting for your life on 2 losses the entire time. And we know, as you can see on this graphic, 3 losses, you're out. And the earlier those losses come, the more pressure there is for you to perform. And, you know, maybe those games are kind of easier. But for instance, you look at that first matchup, which is our first matchup today, Investigation File and 6 Karma. That neither of those teams are really teams that you want to see in that 0-1 game, and one of these teams is going to be 0-2. And you know, looking at the beginning of the season, kind of getting to that point, you wouldn't really expect either of these teams really to be in that position. But hey, here we are. One of those teams is fighting to not be in that position.
It's a little bit of a scary prospect, right? Especially because you're looking forward as these go on. Investigation File here, Aero, Wimpy, Inrio, CZ, Fish. Their last game up, right? They were taking on, it was an interesting game against Reality TV, right? You're playing Villa, go to 7-5, you lose out in the end. it was interesting at times. I think there was inserts here where they just couldn't, sorry, Bank, not Villa. No, yeah, Bank, not Villa. Sorry, apologies. But they couldn't quite figure out how to put those final rounds to the table. I think their defensive halves really struggled. You see picks coming out from their opponents that they couldn't quite deal with. The Monty from Mr. B just really starting to just drag them down a little bit. And I think a big problem here is you're looking at their ratings. Some of these members really found it a little bit difficult to get their teeth into the game, to get this kind of rounds under their control. Lots of rounds they're winning off the backs of strong individual players. And I think you're looking at someone like CZ to really step up and be a big playmaker for their team this time around.
Yeah, not a ton of things went their way to be able to close out these rounds, but one thing they did have is the entry. You had CZ 3-1 on the entry, Fish 3-1 on the entry, and CZ just played out of his dang mind, but it just wasn't enough. But he is an impact player. He has been the second he got picked up onto this team, so you're gonna look to really play through him again today because he's kind of your impact player alongside of Fish. Those two guys, you pick them up to kind of spearhead. Those are the guys that you just send in, make plays, kill everybody on their team. That's the goal. That's what they do. So you're going to want to try and do that, especially against a team like Six Karma that has so much fragging potential, so much frag power that, those two players are just going to be really important for them today.
Yeah, Six Karma, the other team that they're going to be going against. Again, another team coming in from the invite. So both in this 0-1 position, looking very importantly for this next win. The big difference for me is just kind of the way in which their last game went. Also a 7-5 loss. You're looking at this roster: Skimzy, Akibel, Jack, Pixie, Morph. The biggest difference for me from their game compared to their opponents is that in the rounds they were losing, they still kept it quite competitive. They still had these big impactful moments where rounds can really go either way. And it was against Astralis, Joe.
Yeah, Astralis is definitely no knockoff team either, and Six Karma also was on Bank as well. Same performance, 7-5. I mean, you look at it, it's kind of funny. They each won 3 defenses. They both won 2 attacks, Six Karma and IF. So definitely, similar in that sense. But however, the ratings, those rounds were a little bit closer for Six Karma. The average rating of Six Karma was 1.02 from the team, where IS was only 0.89. And the pinnacle of that was Akibel. Akibel with a 1.24 played very well, but like we said, where this is the advantage, where I'd give it to IF, kind of on that front is the entries. Akibel, who had so much impact, but really that impact came on rounds where he was successful on the entry. When he ends up going down, which as you can see is negative on that entry, when he does go down early, he doesn't have that impact, and Six Karma makes it a little bit difficult for them to really kind of get that impact into the rounds and be able to turn the tides, get the rounds in their favor. So Akibel, big impact player for them. If they can kind of keep him alive, get him in his comfort zone, get him going, it's going to be a good way for them to really get this game kicked off for them.
Yeah, and I think the attacking side of things is going to be very important for both of these teams. You're looking at Six Karma. Their game yesterday, they took quite a while pushing in and getting these information on these roamers. They were happy to wait quite a while. We'd see rounds where 1 minute 30, 1 minute 15, down to the last minute was when they would finally start to make that initial push in. If they found those opening frags, they were very quick at taking the rest of that map away from their opponent as well, right? You get the first roamer, they would condense on the second, and with that control usually above sight, able to put pressure on the anchors. The problem was it only happened in 4 of the 12 rounds they played. 4 entries against a team like Astralis, who are very, they're a pro league team. They know exactly what they're doing. They're going to be very good at responding to these issues that arise around them. And we saw that in the game where if they did lose that initial member, they were very quick to shore up the position. Six Karma sometimes struggling to take that very quick move just to immediately take that space away. Time did sometimes come in as a bit of an issue for them.
Yeah, and Mexican teams also, a lot of people know this. Their playstyle can really catch teams off guard. It's a very aggressive style. It's a very frag-heavy style, and normally pro league teams can be able to counter that, but against more CL teams, T3 teams, for instance, as well, that can really catch teams off guard, and they might not have the fragging power, which I think IF do, so that kind of checks that one off the list. But in general, it can really catch teams off guard, and they can kind of struggle to play around that and figure it out. So Six Karma, playstyle wise, it could make it a little bit tough for IF, but that's kind of the main thing. Astralis, Pro League team. They've played, they're some of the best teams in the world, some of the best players in the world, They won a major this year. Or, sorry, they came in second in a major this year. So, they know what they're doing against every team. But, IF, not the same as Astralis, so 6 Karma kind of have an advantage going into that.
Well, let's see if we can get an idea of where these teams will be battling it out. Both played that bank last week. Theme Park, Clubhouse, the first two to go. 6 Karma wanting to get rid of these wider, larger maps that require a little bit more time, with that Villa ban coming through as well. And Bank kind of fits into that pool with those two that they've taken away. So it's interesting to see how far that might escalate through the ban phase, as, well, that's the next map going to be taken away by 6 Karma. Clubhouse, Border Cafe off from Investigation File. I mean, that's quite an interesting one, right? Border, very small, very compact, gives opportunities to those aggressive teams. And you did mention those Mexican squads. You've got to be a little bit more cautious about, as we're just going to see, well, Skyscraper, Oregon taken away right at the end, which gives us a Chalet game here, Joe.
Yeah, and personally, I don't know too much what to expect. I mean, look, both of these teams making changes to their roster quite recently. On the side of 6 Karma, you have Akabil and I believe Jack coming into the roster that are new, which really changes their play style. I mean, you have a player like Akabil coming into your lineup, definitely changes things completely. And on that side of IF, you have Arrow coming in place of Vivid, who moves to the coaching spot. And, that changes things as well. Vivid, great IGL, we know that. And Arrow, not necessarily that. He's a great support player, but he's not that kind of same IGL. So these teams, completely different structures than what we've seen of them previously. So it's kind of tough to call it, but what we do have is predictions from everybody. So me personally, I will go into this. I mean, I am very alone in my opinion. I'm going with IF. I'm a certified fish believer. I think that guy is fantastic. I think he shouldn't even be in the CL position anymore. I think that guy should be in Pro League. And I mean, CZ, a great player as well. I think they have what it takes entry-wise to be able to, really, I guess, compromise, I guess is the word, 6K on that, on that entry. But, that's just my opinion, my analysis of the game. But, I mean, what do you think?
I think coming at this from almost the complete opposite angle. I'm looking at members of the side of 6K. I'm looking at Akabil as a big one for me, as he was phenomenal at finding these opening picks, getting these entries, and the big mistake that I saw arising from an investigation file on Bank was some of these roam setups they had. They would have 1 or 2 members roaming around, but they weren't playing very well off of each other. You're looking at Chalet. One of the big ways in which you can waste a lot of time out of attacking lineups is by extending your holds, is by having roamers on different floors to throw problems at your opponent. And if you can't have that kind of network that you build up on that roam, Chalet can fall away from you very quickly as an offensive squad. If 6K can get these drones into strong positions, if they can figure out where these isolated members of Investigation File are, I think you'll see that defensive side slip away quite quickly.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly can. And I mean, Bank, attacker-sided map. Chalet, attacker-sided map. So similar styles to what we saw, but it is a different map. They are played a little differently. So, definitely could shake out differently. So, like we said, we don't have too much knowledge on either of these teams yet. Still very early. We've only really seen one map, in this league from either of these teams, and it's the same map. We haven't seen either of these teams go anywhere else. But kind of going to that attacker-sided, thing, Bank, neither of these teams had that attacking advantage, like both teams, as I noted earlier, won majority of their rounds on their defense. So you're going to want to see either, which one of these teams can figure that out their attacks first, which ones have gone to the drawing board, got themselves into the lab, figured out roles, what they want to do, because that is what's going to really win a map like Chalet, because the defenses are great, but it's still hard to defend. And, a better attacking team will always beat, a good defense team on a map like Chalet. So, whatever team really has it figured out really has the advantage here.
Yeah, I think you've highlighted it, how important these attacking rounds are going to be and how defense can adjust to these mistakes or any openings that come up for attacking lineups. Siege is in an interesting position for me from the statistical point of view, right? Where you're looking at the number of rounds you actually get to play in a game. 12 rounds were played by both of these teams. That means they went the full length of a standard game. You drop 1 round out of 12 to a mistake, a clutch comes through. That's a massive deal breaker in terms of the timeline of a match. And I think if these attacking lineups aren't tightly knit, if they allow members from the defensive lines to slip through, Chalet has lots of opportunities for flanks, for mishaps to happen, nitro cells from below. There's a lot of chaos, and it's a chaotic map for these kind of reasons. So on the attacking side specifically, it's going to be important at controlling these angles, controlling the flow of the game. They do have, both these teams have shown ways of coping with that though, right? Bank, again, another very large map with lots of opportunities for defenders to mess around with you, to cause some chaos. We've seen operators like the Zero, the Lion, coming out from both of these squads, and I will be interested to see if maybe we go to a more conventional means of restricting the defender movement. If you see that air jab from the Nomad, you see the tracks from the Gridlock. But the Zero is something I would quite like to see a little bit more of. I think if teams can find a way to incorporate a player, even if you die, right, you have your entry go in, maybe there's a mishap, you get onto those SAM cans, you have so much control.
Yeah, and I think kind of noting that, I actually do like that. I mean, Zero, especially on a map like Chalet, same with, Valk being so annoying. There's so many little tiny corners in that, in that ceiling that you could really hide cameras in. And I mean, Nomad is a great, she kind of switched from what she used to be, where it used to be just, throw an air jab on a flank, it's covered. Now it's not really the same way. It's more of swing denial. You put it on an angle. You don't want to have a gun watching the whole time. Make sure someone really just can't, hop out whenever they want, swing out whenever they want. So Nomad is very good on this. For instance, if you want to play positions like big window, if you want to play window positions, you throw Nomads on all of the runouts. They can't really run out and kill you. You have, freedom to be able to play in those spots. So Nomad, great in that area, but Zero can really get you a lot of information if you are good with those cams. But as here we can get into our game at long last. Chalet, IF, 6 Karma. Hopefully a very good game to kickstart our day of 4 games, and can't wait to get into it.
Well, let's see how the ban phase pans out. One of the more influential maps when it comes to operator bans, right? I'd expect to see that Flores taken away very quickly, because if not, you can get those Roteras into some very uncomfortable positions, remove these key spots that defenders really like to hold on to with deployable shields and other such jazz. But the first ban going away, it's going to be that Lion. 6 Karma don't want to have to deal with it. They don't want to be restricted in their movement.
Yeah, and a knock ban, I mean, very common right now. Let's be real. Nobody wants to play against her. She's so powerful. Just being able to just walk through the map with ease, that lurk, it can be so powerful, especially in the right hands. And IF wants nothing to do with it. And a Valk ban coming out from them, as I noted before, really tough spots cams can be. Don't really want to look for them.
And the final ban is gonna be that Cade. Yes, Thatcher is on the board, and it's a tool that you can bring to compensate for those claws. Impact EMP's also available, but you know what? It's having to figure out where those claws are located and the way in which you can hide them in other rooms or even on other floors, just to add that extra layer of figuring it out for the attackers. You know what? They've just figured when we come to attack, we don't want to deal with it. We feel like we can make use of this mute, which has already been locked onto, and we can just chill with this.
Yeah, and they are going to start up top, which when this map first came out, this was really the preferred site. Everybody went here, this was where everyone wanted. But kind of as we keep playing it, the map is further on. The sites have kind of started evening themselves out, and Master has kind of lost its favor a little bit. But
yeah.
You see 6 Karma, they bring it out first, and they have this library extension. They're not going to give that really up at all, and I hope IF does not square up on this. I hope they go for a solar take the control below that is there. You only have 1 player down there, so I hope that they really take the spot that isn't contested. I lied completely. They are holding this as well. They're really holding everywhere on the map, and I kind of like that, contesting as much as they can, not to give up any space for free. And IF gonna have to try and figure out how to really make this work when everything is so contested.
Yeah, and they've got the Wamai over that Jaeger, and you can drop those magnets as they charge up, and they're a little bit more adaptable than the ADSs, right? The ADSs you set at the start of the round, if something changes mid-action phase, not a whole lot you can do without exposing or risking yourself to grab it and redeploy it later on. These magnets mean that when the Wamai feels threatened, he can fall back towards site, he can fall back to another spot, and add that sort of next layer to the defense. But so far, Morphed up on this balcony, trying to engage a little bit of a gunfight. CZ taking the early damage. You want to keep your ace alive. They have got Aero on that Habana as the secondary form of hard breach. Should they need more, or should they run out? But for the time being, CZ still taking these gunfights, able to get down Skimzy, the Frost out of action. All that utility is still deployed, but you add a second to the count as Inero, a wonderfully placed grenade from below, takes out Morphed. There's your Wamai gone, and this is starting to look a little bit more dire for Six Karmas. They have to try and find a way to fall back to site, able to dodge away from the bullets on the balcony and get back relatively safely.
Yeah, and they need to find a pick back here, and Pick's in a really good spot for this. I don't think they know he's here. He's going to get a free one on Fish. Still in a man disadvantage right now, but halfway through the round, and I mean, they have a good amount of stuff done, and barely misses on that kill of Wimpy, and that may have been an opportunity for them to come back, but the CIF, they're trying to get rid of this player below, and they end up getting another one taken down. Akabil with another one. He's down to 1 HP as well, and Sleazy inside a bathroom. He gets taken down. Arrow left in a 1v3, and Akabil is on 1 HP as well. So, I mean, Arrow, very winnable spot for him, but Six Karma, taking the
swing.
Eesh. Not able to win it. Akabil, huge round from him, and a big way to pull that round back and take the first defense of Chalet.
You notice how that attack fell apart. It was people walking up by themselves, engaging in 1v1s, not having that information. Look, okay, I get it. You don't expect Pixie to be sat just chilling on blue stairs. That's fair enough. It's not something you'd expect to see people do. But, and here's what I'm saying, but when you're 5 versus 3 up, when you still have plenty of time left in a round, take a split second to check it. You have the Geminis available, you're playing Yana, just gather that information first. Don't give up these needless kills, because if you spot that mute out in a position like blue, you have the sledge available by Bard to try and start cutting off some of these forms of rotation. You deny his fullbacks, you grab these kills. What ends up happening? He's looking around to try and grab that kill back onto Pixie, who isn't really there. He's still hiding away. You end up dying to the hatch inside of site, or inside of kitchen, where Jack is just waiting to collect it. And I think that's just investigation file. When you have that advantage, you can slow down. You can take an opportunity just to reconsider what you want to clear out next, rather than feeling the need to just continue rushing forwards.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't need that control. You know, they had everything they needed. They just needed to set up their flanks, start really working towards site, and they didn't do that, and it really costed them in the end. But, you know, no harm, no foul. Next round, an opportunity to bring it back a little bit, and they're going to go for more of a direct take, it seems, opting to bring an Osa and a Flores. A lot of utility clear from them. I'm interested to see what they do with the Osa here, however, and Fish playing with fire. Morphed has the Azami. We know how powerful she can be in this position. So many spots for her to throw up, you know, those little barriers if she wants. And I mean, it just makes library feels like a fortress is the right word for it. You know, you cut off so many angles, really allow yourself to play in spots that typically you wouldn't be able to play if you didn't have it. So, I mean, you just like that.
Yeah, they have plenty of explosives here to try and deal with the problem. CZ, a wonderful shot on the Jack, gets rid of one of the two roamers over on this side of the map, and, well, you still have Morphed, who's lurking around. He's not falling back just yet, wants to play for a little bit more time. These frost maps trying to assist this position, make it a little bit harder to jump on into these windows, but I'm sure that's a problem that will be addressed when they go through. Pixie below, able to grab one. Still the Yana able to walk into site, or into library. Not quite concerned yet. Pixie gets that one kill, wants to drop back off of the angle. He's still playing around below, and the angle's being watched as Morph has been able to retreat to site. Half the round has been eclipsed. Half the round is gone. That is wasted well by Six Karma, but this Flores continuing to get a lot of utility out. Removing these shields from blue makes it a little bit harder for them to walk back up to contest. Fish already in this aggressive position, though, and starting to try and apply some pressure down below.
Yeah, and this bar hatch is open as well, and might make it a little bit tough for certain spots to be held inside of sight for 6K on that defense. And you see a lot of these players so crowded inside of sight, and CZ has the shield down. He can cut off this entire hallway, and all these players, they have a lot of things working, but at the end of the day, they still have to find a way to get into sight. And 6K, with 40 seconds left, still holding strong. I say that, but the Frost of Pixie goes down in sight. Akabil works his way back in, however, and tough spots for them to clear, but Fish ends up spotting the player, not able to hit the shots. 20 seconds left. Players still in good spots for 6K, and still IF looking for a way in, not able to do that. Wimpy starting to try and walk into sight, but Skimzy still on these main stairs. He's not even in anymore, but Arrow ends up walking in. Fish gets his way into sight. Akabil sneaks his way in. He gets the planner down. The time runs out. 6 Karma find a way to clutch out the round again. Akabil, the one, the only, the impact player again, finding a way to bring back the round. And that's 2 attack rounds for IF. They really should not be losing. And they find themselves in a 2-0 hole.
Yeah, that felt a little bit illegal, I think is the best way for me to put that, because I struggle to see how you let them walk through sight. One of the things that I would be most concerned about when it comes to this late dying seconds, there is no time left on the clock. You have to commit to this plant. Stock is an angle that, yes, you want to be a little bit wary of, potential nitro cells and such, but your remaining operators wasn't really something that 6 Karma were bringing to the table. Instead, by committing to that stock, by watching into it, and walking through it, you left that gap in the rotation by the bar to give up that kill. And again, this is another instance of investigation foul. They're taking a little bit too long in these earlier moments of the round, right? You're looking at Library. They have dealt with the majority of the problem very early on. They get rid of the Aruni. Morphed is alone on that Azami on balcony. But it still took them a little bit too long to get in and start pushing him off. You have the players on the window. Honestly, it was CZ, right? On that Osa, who can command a little bit of presence away from Mezzanine. Because, well, there's no deployable shield there. There's nothing denying these angles. But still, they were a little bit too slow to capitalize on it. And what did that mean? Well, 6 Karma able to fall back very comfortably and reinforce the site, which is what led to them losing out that round in the end, despite being in an advantageous position.
Yeah, and it's just tough to see, really, for someone who picked IF to win this game. You know, everything is going right for them except that final product, as you stated, and I liked that they took their time a little bit, but it seemingly isn't enough, and Morph does get a 1. CZ takes some damage as well. He's fighting, and did he not unload into the back of Skimzy? Doesn't matter. He got unloaded on by Wimpy, and kills getting traded back and forth, but 6K do end up on top of that engagement. I say that, Wimpy smokes another one. Akabil, the player who has been practically untouchable, ends up going down. Morph gets another one, and you gotta take it from here. There's a lot going on right now.
Yeah, just constant back and forth, as Arrow's also able to get one back as well, finally able to deal with Jack on this roam below inside of bar, so no longer has to worry too much about this play. The rest of the defenders both down towards the site. You got Pixie playing a little bit closer in the front of Dining, the longer angles being watched by Morph. That DMR, very scary in the hands of a defender, very scary in the capable hands of someone like Morph, who has shown that he knows how to use it. Now, this time, there's still plenty of it on the clock for investigation file, right? They've got 1:10, so they're more than happy to slow down now. And the mistake that they haven't committed to this sort of game plan in previous rounds. So seeing this, opening up these holes, giving themselves this opportunity to change up the round, but more flanking around, trying to get some damage in through the head height holes prepared. Not able to land his mark, not able to get anything for it, but still that extra layer of concern arises for from 6 Karma. Investigation file still waiting patiently though, Joe, as they're just droning, trying to spot them out, and I believe they may have found one, taking a little bit of damage from the floor below, but still committing to getting this Aruni.
They do see him. Those metal bars make it so tough, and we're not able to get the kill, and You have the Hibana, you have the Sledge with nades, you have the ops you kind of want for this. No set of denial for 6K. You have an impact, which could end up taking down Inrio, and Arrow not able to find the kill. Morph somehow stays alive. Inrio has to try and grab the case and find the kills. Not able to do that. Pixie finds a kill through the hatch, and IF once again not able to claim an attack round. And this hole is starting to get not great for them as they need to find something, but we do see a timeout coming out from them. Good timing from them. Happy they made it, just because, you know, they kind of needed one. As you saw, they're not really able to close out these rounds when, you know, whether they should or shouldn't be, they have to try and figure something out because, you know, as we said, attacker-sided map, whatever team figures out how to attack, you know, first will be the one with the upper hand, and IF at the moment haven't figured it out.
Yeah, that's definitely been the cause for concern for them, right? It's elaborating on these leads that they've had, and they've had plenty of leads. Every attacking round, they've opened up with the first pick. And you're looking at this, right? 3 versus 5. In their favor, they have the 5 members in the first round. They don't slow down. They don't look for these members individually. They die to 1v1 gunfights. Everything starts to slip through their fingers. And again, this has happened in the last round we've just seen, where it's just crazy, hectic fighting from the start. And as these members of 6 Karma are falling back, they're trading blow for blow. You get into that 2 versus 2 situation, and despite having a lot of time, they weren't really able to make it count in terms of getting an advantage over 6 Karma. They have complete control upstairs, and despite that one little cheeky little push from Morphed up the Soda Serum staircase, nothing else really was threatening them, and still unable to get that kill. Arguably, they should have been able to finish off the Aruni when they open up the floor above them, cutting off their escape. So, ultimately, 6 Karma just playing very well around the space that LFO are leaving open.
Yeah, I mean, they're leaving a lot of space, and we kind of figured that would happen. It's what 6K does. Teams like this, they will take advantage of any little tiny bit of opening that they sniff. Even if there's not even an opening, if they think there's one, they're going to go for it. And
yeah,
those openings are there. You said that, and they're taking complete advantage over it right now. So, IF, they are now attacking a site that they have seen before. They have seen the setup before. You do have Akabil, however, down in the basement right now. Not going to find an engagement that he's looking for quite yet, but he is making his presence known. Skimzy has hit the deck. He's able to be taken down, but CZ gets traded out immediately. Not the trade you necessarily... Wow. I know you heard that. Oh.
Well, this is starting to look a little bit better for Investigation File as they're continuing their clear of the top floor, but they've dodged past Pixie. I don't think Pixie knows that he's found his way into the connecting room to site, and with Wimpy causing a little bit of noise over on this balcony, that is going to draw all the attention his direction. Fish just turns the corner, collects the pick, and now full site control in the hands of the attack. The diffuser on the other side, though, and Morphed is not making it easy for them to cross over, continuing to find damage, just dealing it. And now all turns around. Fish! The perfect timing for Morph to collect that kill, able to drop back to site as well. The shots only connecting with his leg means he can reconsolidate himself on the piano shield. Joe, this round, they had site control, Joe.
They can't convert, it seems. It's the story of what has continued to happen. Fish makes a great play to get in the site, maybe repositions himself not in the best way, kind of in front of the only information that 6K has at all, but you know, it's still 2v2, still winnable. It's Inrio and Arrow once again. They failed last round to make something work with it, but they have a chance this time to try and get this, and a lot easier of a time they should have here, you know, being able to get this wall open. Not a lot of control that they need. Once again, no denial from 6K, so, you know, there's no real plant denial here. If they can find their way into half wall, it's really just going to be on Inrio watching swings, but Morphed inside of that piano position is going to make it tough. Akabil works his way up to half wall as well. No information really from IF to make this work, but that nade is going to move Akabil a little bit he's going to be in such a tight spot, a nice little crossfire that they have here. And IF not going to really know any of this at all. And 6K really in a tough position. They have all the control that they need for this. Akabiel swings out. Now they know that he's here, morphed in a tight corner. Arrow is in. He's going to swing out. Akabiel wins the fight. Imrio doesn't check his corner. And 6K once again, another defense round on Chalet, and IF struggling to really take advantage of what's going on. And Galu, it's really starting to look tough on that side of IF.
Joe, it was a 4v2.
It was a 4v2.
You have a member inside of sight. You have Wimpy on Ego balcony with the door open who can walk into sight. And they failed to rotate with the diffuser. Morphed able to get the pick through library. I mean, he's still chilling on mezzanine while all this chaos is going on, right? And again, I don't know how you explain it other than the fact that from the side of Six Karma, they're just being incredibly clutch. Akabiel, Morphed, Pixie, these members who have been alive consistently for them, just doing so much work. And Morphed, I'm sorry, how does he consistently find himself in these positions where he's just cutting off investigation file from each other? You're in the 4 versus 2. You're supposed to pinch, not be cut off. Right, the whole point is you can move around the map as attackers. But they're not.
Yeah, and I mean, as we noted before, you know, when you replace an IGL with someone who's not an IGL, you need players to step up. You know, they don't really have an IGL anymore. You know, there's no player on this roster that really does IGL, and you're gonna need a lot of players to really step up and make these calls, make these decisions for themselves to really be able to take advantage of situations like that. You had Fish, he was able to make the call, he was able to get himself in, make such a big play to get that control, but nobody able to make those calls around him, and they end up losing the round because of it. And so, you know, you drop an IGL, sorry, not drop, I'm pretty sure Vivid did quit the game, or quit comp, but
you lose that member.
You know, either way, yeah, you lose that voice, and when you don't have that voice anymore, it leads to mistakes like this if nobody's really stepping up, and you need to see 1 or 2 players really step up, be that loud voice, and Skimzy again taken down first. It's easy, a big entry pick, but story of the game, can investigation file convert on that pick?
They got Aero on this Flores, just making sure that they get rid of any potential utility to prevent these nades flying on through from Fish. Both used up very early on into the round, which is potentially concerning for them, as it's just going to walk straight on in. The mirror window somehow been able to slip on by it, wins out the gunfight onto Morph at the top. Not quite sure where the misinformation was coming from, but Akabiel able to swing onto Inrio and grab one back before falling further away into the map. Fish cleans him up though, was waiting in that unexpected position that the Azami just ran right into, and now you're looking at another 4 versus 2 situation for LFO, and this one's going to be a little bit harder for them to drop as Pixie just immediately caught off by Wimpy, trying to rotate around back through the main lobby. Jack, 1 versus 4. It will take some immense heroics for him to keep his team undefeated so far, as Aero going for that diffuser. He's aware of Wimpy on the stairs behind him, but doesn't exactly know the location. Takes the swing a little bit too wide, Joe, and Wimpy cuts him down happily. Finally, investigation file can claim their first attacking round.
Yeah, I saw 4v2 and I thought it was the boogeyman. I thought they were going to lose it again. But, I mean, they were able to convert. You saw what happened. You know, they were good with their utility that time, and, you know, a little bit differently, tougher times. It was kind of IF doing what 6K has been doing this entire game. Found a little bit of an opening, took complete advantage of it, and, you know, good utility usage, able to get Inrio through, Fish through, able to get a couple of kills off the back of, you know, CZ's opening pick, and they're going to switch sites, and IF in kind of a must-win attack, kind of salvage at least a little bit of something from this half, because, you know, a 2-4 split isn't really ideal either, but a 1-5, especially in a 1 map, a best of 1, you know, that's definitely not ideal. But you look at this little bit of a lineup on that side of IF. On the left side of your screen, you see a Sens coming out, a Ying, and a Maru, a Dokkaebi. And you see the Sens on a site like this, yeah. The first thought that crosses my mind is that dining drone hole, where you can just cut off practically the entirety of the site. And you have the Ying, and I like this lineup, a little bit of a set play. If my mind is telling me correctly, especially from teaming with Fish in the past. This is a fish idea for sure. I could be wrong, and I hope one of the players at one point corrects me if I'm wrong. But I mean, you have that Amaru. Oh, he's gonna hop up through that hatch. I love this. I love every single little bit of this, Galu, and everything's they're starting to get set up. There's no holes. Oh, it's beautiful. Every bit of this is beautiful.
Well, Aki going to be taking some damage on that smoke. Means he has to be a little bit more cautiously as, well, these sense they're going to go out to create those lines, that confusion, the opportunity for Imrio to walk on into sight. And look at this, they can't even see him from behind, but they don't see Morph on the dining table either. It's completely cut themselves off. Pixie holding on inside of Kitchen is able to grab one. Now, a little bit more awkward for CZ as he's looking to try and throw these Candelas in combination with the smokes to give himself that entry into sight. The crossfire's being held, can't quite make out the head over the top of the kitchen table, but he will find that one. No, he won't. The shot's not quite connecting on their target as they're just continuing to try and brute force their way in. Wimpy's the first to find the frag, able to walk in and claim himself a double kill, Joe, and CZ holding down the lobby is able to find the final pick. And you said this was the play. You said this is what they were going for, and despite the hiccup, despite the Amaru getting caught on out, they still found every pick they needed.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't pretty. Dropping case in the middle of dining wasn't exactly great. I feel like having a player front door, perhaps, to be able to watch that cross would have been good. But, hindsight, you can't change that. But they do get the round win, a nice little play coming out from them to salvage another round. And I like that from them, and a little bit of advantage now. They've won 2 straight rounds. Kind of, in my eyes, a big defense here. You win another one, and just the way that I see it, you get that 3rd straight, and you start to get that belief. Start to get that confidence in yourself. The gunfights, they start going your way. The comms start flowing a little bit better than they were before. And 6K on their side as well. You're gonna want to see a round, a little bit better than the previous 2. You might want to kind of look at that and be like, all right, they caught us off guard on that round, but that's what they have to do to win these rounds. We keep them from catching us, off guard. They can't win these rounds. So, 6K, you limit those kind of opportunities where, you do get caught off guard, and these rounds do go your way. So, those are kind of the 2 ways I see these coming rounds really going for these 2 teams. But a big couple of rounds coming up really that could really dictate not only this match, but really the rest of this SCS season for them.
And Fish, able to get a very early kill onto Pixie, trying to go for a second downstairs, but Skimsy. He spots his teammate goes down, he waits patiently for it, and it is delivered to him. Doesn't even take a single point of damage. So, while not an ideal trade, it's certainly one you'll take. Fish has been quite big for the side of IF in many of these rounds, although you're looking at the kill spread, it's pretty even amongst the top 3. 2 others who've been playing those more supportive positions, right? You're looking at Aero, you're looking at Imrio. It makes sense, but now it's all on how does 6 Karma respond to this. Throwing out the smoke canister. Don't think that was quite intentional, Joe, was it? But you know what? That's all right. We get a little bit of the shakies as long as you get that over with. You're looking at the setup now. So heavily focused around library, around mezzanine, and you have these Kiba barriers, the castle barriers, just to make it all that more congested, to make it all that much harder for 6 Karma to find these picks, to get these advantageous gunfights as they're trying to work away at some of the hard breach to give themselves a couple more angles to toy around with. Half the round gone, 1 member dead for each team. Who's the next to fall?
Yeah, and a big next pick for them. And you did see 6K really take control early. You had Akabil already in piano, like 35 seconds into the round. A big nade coming out, and that's the top blue player. CZ gets one back, however, a beautiful shot from him. But without a player on top blue, I'm pretty sure they could just walk into Ivy Hall whenever they so choose. But they don't know that that blue position is clear. And CZ taking another fight. Akabil taking more damage right there. And 6K, they don't realize that certain positions are clear, and Morphed going to start lurking towards this basement, looking like he's going to walk up these blue stairs as well. But I'm pretty sure they have that information if they want. IF kind of holding strong here. They have the control that they want, but 6K not worrying about that upstairs at all. They're going to start just focusing straight on the downstairs. No players are up there. Skimzy taking some damage as well from Arrow. Arrow spots a player. He sees a second. He just sees everybody on the team, but he finds his way in. He finds the player. That's Case down. Morph ends up getting taken down, but Skimzy hops in upstairs. Akabiel gets another one. Arrow left on his own downstairs. 10 seconds to work with here. Maybe reposition a little bit. Not able to find the kill. 6 Karma. It looked a little grim from them, but the right call from them to just ditch the upstairs, work on downstairs, and they get their opening attack round. And I mean, a good way from them, but they do take a timeout after that, which is a little interesting.
I can respect a timeout call here. I think that last round from 6 Karma, despite winning it, was not a comfortable attack. You're looking at how that played out, right? Fish goes for that aggressive peek off the spawn, gets it, gets cut off, trying to fall back. Okay. You lost the entry, you get it back. That's okay. You can deal with that, right? That's okay. You're looking at the rest of how this round played out, though. It looked like they really suffered from the loss of that utility from the Zofia because they could not find a way to burn out these Keepers, these castles on the top floor. And what happened, right? 2 minutes in, they're looking there, they have this control set up, they open the breach from the small 4 wall in office. They have these options to start pushing out. But they couldn't find a way to remove any of this defensive setup, and it just forced them to go downstairs instead. And that isn't a comfortable thing to do a lot of the times, because you're looking at the way in which the setup was made from IF. They have vertical holes available, they have hatches open, they have options to try and contest. Ultimately, it was just the jump in from Skimzy catching the castle off guard. He did not expect anyone to jump through his army barrier. And fair enough, right? That Saria Gate is going to do 30 damage. It's going to give you a little bit of screen shake. It's going to make that gunfight a little bit more uncomfortable for you. But he takes it. He wins it out. And from this position, just the pure aggression from Aki and Skimzy are able to find the picks that they need to tip the round in their favor. But it's not one that you'd look back and expect them to win looking at that position.
Yeah, but especially in a best of one. I mean, we kind of talked about this before the game started, I believe. Kind of right at the beginning of it. 12 rounds, right? And in Siege, I mean, let's be real. That's not that many. With how many things can happen in each and every round, that's not that many. So, when you get these opportunities, you get the chances to win rounds, and sometimes things don't go your way. Every round counts. You know, you don't have chances. You don't have another map to fall back on. Like, this is it. So, you know, when multiple rounds that way don't fall into your favor, you know, it makes it a little tough to really bring one back. They're still in the game, but, you know, a lot of these rounds to this point haven't gone their way. When you really sit there, you're like, dang, they really could have or should have won that. So, you know, tough spot for IF to be, but, you know, 6K handling business in a good way right now. And once again, look how quickly they've taken control. 40 seconds, they're already in over here and working on this wall.
The thing to be aware of is that it is, of course, the site below. Arrow dealing the first blow as he's able to grab one onto Akibiel. And, I mean, Akibiel, I'd give him a decent bit of credit for the last attacking round 6 Karma won, right? It was being able to play it aggressively, take out the member looking around blue, that opened up a bit more of that site for them to start to drop on in. And now, well, Piano in their control, but they still have to deal with below. They still have to deal with CZ, who's just waiting inside a cubby, has the deployable shield deployed further back than you might usually expect to see from these teams, but ultimately able to keep their control of the top floor as now this site is being opened on up. They're giving themselves that option to walk on into dining. Double air jab still able to be deployed if they want to try and cut off a rotation, but nitro cells are something you have to be, well, no, you don't have to be aware of. Imrio already invested his earlier on into the round, so a potential plant angle trying to emerge for the side of 6 Karma here, but a minute to play with. Got to be careful of that upstairs, although no one from IF really wants to push further forward. No one really wants to try and tackle it back.
Yeah, which I think for the most part is fine. You have numbers. There's only a minute left as long as you don't give up anything too crazy. You do have Wimpy up there, kind of with his little fortress that he's created up there, so nothing too crazy. And you see these players, great discipline right here, not giving anything up. And do see Pixie and Morphed, they're starting to split off a little bit, see if they can work something of a pick. They have the information, they can kind of see a player, but Wimpy not giving anything up, and time is starting to tick down, and Six Karma not being given anything to be able to work really any picks at all, and Morph having an opportunity there, not able to convert. Wimpy gets a kill. Pixie ends up getting one on Fish, but Arrow trades it back. Wimpy drops the hatch, gets another one, and IF brings around back their first defensive win on this split, on this map, and 5-3 lead to Six Karma. Not really a good start, and the finish really reflected that.
They couldn't find the opening pick. They couldn't get that opening control above. They lost 2 members and had about 3 different ideas that they toyed with going for, ultimately deciding on the one which I can understand what they were going for, right? They're trying to spread up. They're trying to look for different players to get an opportunity to grab a pick back. The problem for me is that you have this control above, right? The defense are giving you a little bit of control above. They're playing these long angles right back, using these keeper barriers, using these deployable shields to make it so it's very difficult to fully clear them from the top floor. But it sends you this, it gives you this option. Do you fully invest in clearing it out to get that control like you ideally want to have, or do you try and play it a little bit more passively? And Six Karma looked like they wanted to try and push further. They wanted to completely clear out this top floor, but they didn't give themselves the right tools to complete the job, right? You have the Sledge walking up, just trying to take some shots at the deployable shield rather than having tools like frag grenades being thrown in, having flashbangs used to burn out these ADSs. They need to work a little bit better at sharing the utility that they have to actually get these jobs done properly rather than just challenging for gunfights.
Yeah, and I do like that Wimpy is having a great game. He's someone that really struggled in that RTV match. So, I mean, you think, you know, if he's having that kind of game, they're in a 1-0 position. You know, the game that he normally has, because Wimpy is a great player, you know, he has a normal game. They end up winning that, and he's definitely not struggling now. He's having a great performance right now. CZ having the performance we expected. Fish doing well as well. In Rio, I know we've kind of seen him struggle on this map, you know, kind of in the past, but CZ does go down first. That's the opening kill for Six Karma. Arrow down as well. And note, Gal, this is a basement defense.
Yeah. I mean, that puts things into perspective, right? When you're looking at how much time and utility is being invested on the top floor, they've been able to get 2 kills for it, though, and 2 important kills. You get that smoke, Arrow off the table, those toxic babes give you that little bit of extra freedom to use this time, to be a little bit more methodical, because 30 seconds of your execute aren't going to be invested in a toxic babe. But that does not help, because Morphed is now down for the count, playing tight with the shotgun. He's able to get a second onto Skimzy, looking for the third as well. And he finds it, Joe. Inrio not giving up any space on this top floor, scared of a potential 4th member trying to challenge him, but it doesn't look like that's really going to be an option for them. Akibil. Jack looking to try and push further and further into the basement. Might be able to catch the Aruni off guard on their rotation. Might be able to do so, and is able to do so. Akibil able to land the required shots, and now they have control over Snowmobile Garage. And what an angle being held, expecting this rotation back to site from the mute, and is able to clean up the round. Inrio performed some absolute heroics. The man went huge, but it still didn't really matter.
Yeah, I think Wimpy got a little too aggressive there as well. Just because, you know, the second he swings that, he leaves that player just alone on site of Fish. Yeah. Fish alone on site and kind of having to, you know, really deal with 2 players, not able to do so. And Inrio too far off site. Great recognition from 6K to realize that, hey, Inrio was very deep off site. We know we just killed one of the players on site. We know there has to be only one. Let's push this guy together. They realized where he was. They got the kill without really having to go for a 1-for-1. Able to get themselves in a 2v1, able to win it, hit the shots. And now they put themselves on match point and having 3 straight attacks to be able to do it. And I really favor those odds.
Yeah, it's certainly one you'd take, right? If you could drop into this game right now and you're told you're 6-3 up on defense or 6-3 up on attack on Chalet, you take that crack at attack. You take that crack at just breaking open this hold. A similar setup coming in from the side of Investigation File, right? You're looking at the similar sort of operators, the Azami, the Castle coming out. Aero rocking this Frost once again, and Frost is an operator who you should just expect to see a lot of the time when playing Chalet because of how many very important windows there are to a lot of these sites. Mud Door being dropped off just as Akibil makes a very quick approach. Six Karma are going for a very different take this time around. Last time, what did they do? They went for Solarium, they tried to get that repel, they tried to clear out the top floor. This time, it is all playing around these library windows, going for a much more direct approach, because ultimately, that's what they defaulted to when things got a little bit messy.
Yeah, which I think is a great idea, personally, just because when you really want to square up, you have so much talent on this roster, I think it's better to just square up. You know, kind of limit the buffoonery that could happen, you know, kind of the things that could really go bad in a round and just take gunfights, you know? Kind of just square up one-on-one, very linear takes. And if you do that, I think that can minimize those mistakes, minimize all the things that could happen. And Six Karma kind of realized right now, hey, if we do that, 3 rounds, one of those are going to go our way. We have too much talent, way too many things, really, that we have an advantage in. Let's just go for it. So I like that decision. You know, if it doesn't work, they have 2 more opportunities. So, I mean, we'll see what they can do. Wow.
Ooh, quick trade coming out. Wimpy dying on the bottom of the staircase. Fish just above, able to refrag his compatriot out. And now, well, it's interesting to see how the response from Six Karma comes through, because they're looking towards the Frost. Not quite able to land the shots, though. Morphed, narrowly letting Arrow slip through his fingers as Imrio is able to get one. He turns and grabs the kill, making Morph pay for that earlier mishap. And now, well, you're still playing on this library breach. You still haven't been able to quite get in. As I say that, Skimzy going to jump on in, try and get some damage out onto the castle, but CZ has the backup from Mezzanine, able to get the injure out. The impact coming through to try and finish the kill, but Imrio not relenting, not giving up this position, finds the first, looking aggressively for the Twitch, plays around the Kiba and grabs it. Investigation File, able to win the round out this time. The adaptation from Six Karma not panning out.
Yeah, and looking at that attack, it felt like it very heavily relied on being able to get that stock wall open, that closet wall open from, you know, those bottom main stairs, and they weren't able to do that. You saw that the Azami of Inrio shot them off of the wall from above, which I say you saw, but probably couldn't. But he does end up getting them off the wall, and that really kind of deterred them. You saw they end up giving up a pick, and then they kind of felt a little clueless, I guess. They didn't really know what they wanted to go for. Picks just kept trickling the way of IF. So having your take, especially a linear one, be so reliant off of one thing, and even then, if you're going to have it be reliant off of one thing, give them some help. You know, throw a nade up from ranked window perhaps, or from those bottom of F1 stairs, you know? Do something to get that player off so that wall can get open. Maybe even throw someone front door. Throw someone anywhere to be able to really do that, because it felt like that's where the attack was really based off of, and that was where the success was going to come from. And they didn't do anything to really aid to that success. So kind of, I guess, a deserved round for the most part. IF just getting the kills that they needed to, and Inrio also starting to really wake up right now and kind of feeling that momentum a little bit. But Six Karma, you want to see them not make those same mistakes. We've seen them attack this site before, so we'll see if they can kind of make adjustments here.
What's ranked window?
Ranked window is the little window above, like, the snowmobile breach, like with the little balcony right next to the main stairs. Part
that window.
That window. That is ranked window.
Interesting.
Yes.
The more you know. Learning new things every day over at SCS. What a treat.
Indeed.
Well, now just trying to play for this Solarium control once again on the rappel. Just looking to try and find anything from IF. The feet from the Jaeger sticking a little bit wide. A lucky pot shot trying to get a bit of damage dealt as, well, these impact blasts from the Zofia are going to start to ring on out, try and start to clear away at some of these keepers invested upstairs. Aki has the fall off watch, though. Morphed or not Morph, sorry, Aero in this position has quite a pivotal spot. You have that trading ability with the Jaeger just next to you, but it looks like they're looking for something spicy here, perhaps trying to burn out any utility before sending this nade over the top. It's cocked, it's thrown, it doesn't quite land on its target, and Wimpy takes out Morph. The Nomad goes down. CZ just continues to play aggressively against this window pressure and is able to get the sledge as well. Aki able to finally grab one for his team as 6 Karma make their mark in the round, but so far, still petering out, still struggling to get any of that pressure inside of the building as you can't really walk on in. Fish grabs another onto Agibil, who's continuing to play up on these balconies. Joe, what's happening here? 6 Karma, they are not able to get their way into the building. They're going once again for a very direct take that is just showing them no reward.
This is a nice little method that I like to call fighting fire with fire. When you're playing against a very aggressive team and you're not really, finding success, you just get really aggressive back. And IF is now really firing on all cylinders, but both players of 6K have actually found themselves in pretty good spots. That Barb is going to give up the position of Pixie right here. Fish does see him, but not able to really connect with anything. And 30 seconds left, not a lot of time to work with. That information is known on Pixie, but Jack is in a pretty free spot. He ends up picking up another kill available for him if he can find it. Not able to do so, but Pixie really being able to pinch this player out and dining, not able to find that kill, but Jack finds it. This round falling apart for IF. Wimpy on 1 HP. Not able to find it. The plant is starting to go down from Jack. Wimpy on 1 HP. Not able to find the player. The Pixel not able to be found. Not able to hit the shots. And 2 players on half wall. Post plant position for them. Not able to find the clutch. 6K really bring the round out of nowhere. They put themselves 2-0 on this season of SCS. And I'm not going to lie. I did not see that round going their way.
Yeah, I think I'm in a similar boat to you. This attack started off so slowly for them, right? They were focused on these Solarium windows. They were focused on trying to play around these balconies to clear out the bathroom and master bedroom positions. But it took them so long to find anything in the round to fight back against what we were seeing be shown by their opponent. And, I mean, look, fair play to them. They were able to have this mid-round adaptation, but a lot of these attacking rounds came down to individuals or 1 or 2 players stepping up massively to find these opportunities, to find these angles back into the game. And, I mean, you're looking at it. That's how it plays out sometimes, but I'm not going to sit here and say it was a clean attacking half from 6 Karma. Ultimately, they were just able to get the better of their opponent. You know what? That's what matters. Getting the points, getting the wins on the board is what you need at the end of the day.
Yeah, and I did slip. It was 6 Karma going to 1-1, bringing one back. I was like, thinking IF 0-2, and then just all of a sudden, mixed it. But that's okay. I mean, end of the day, IF, so many things went well for them. Where, like, if you look at some of these highlights, you're sitting there like, how did they lose? How are they down so much? But they weren't able to convert, as we know, as we watched. Not able to convert on so many opportunities, specifically man advantages, entries going their way, and that inability to convert on these chances is going to hurt you. I've talked about it before. In a best of 1, you don't have this many mistakes to fall back on to be able to just come back from. You have to limit them, and they weren't able to do that, and 6 Karma able to take that map win.
And it's not even a case of just slipping up or just giving up these openings on their attacking half. It happened on defense too. Too many times we just saw 6 Karma in these 2v3s, 3v3s with very little influence over site, very little utility cleared from the setup. You're looking at the round in library where they have Castle, Alibi, Azami chilling upstairs with nothing that is really left to deal with. 6 Karma just drop down, look for individual frags, are able to find these one-on-ones and just embrace the chaos to win out the series. But Akibil, 2nd game in a row where this man has been on fire.
Yeah, and +5 on entry for investigation file is crazy. To see that and still lose 7-4 on a map like Chalet. But that also goes to show that kind of playstyle from 6 Karma. They're able to find picks no matter what. So they don't really need to win that entry. We saw it really against Astralis, they don't need the entries. They can work picks. They can get their kills. Everyone can shoot on this roster. So, guys like Skimzy, like when I casted him in quals, pretty sure he dropped like 20. And you look at him, he's 5 and 10. All these players on any given day can really pop off. Once again, we see it's Akabil. So it's just, they have so much firepower. That ability to really work picks, work rounds back into their favor is great. But, when you do look at IF, that +5 entry, not being able to convert on that, you look at that, in your 0-2 position, and that's kind of concerning if you ask me.
Yeah, 3 entries going in favor of Six Karma is, I don't know, I think that tells a lot about the fact that they're able to just find these openings and that IF able to give them.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to say on it. It shouldn't be that difficult on a map like Chalet to really, make sure that doesn't happen. It's not like an open map like Bank where there's so many things to watch. The map is really open. There's a lot of places you can die from. As both of these teams played before, this isn't Bank. This is Chalet. It's a lot smaller of a map, corridors, things like that. There shouldn't be really places that kills shouldn't be traded, Like when you have a 4v2, you have that 2-man advantage, not even just a 1-man advantage. You have a 2-man advantage, 3-man advantage. You should not really be dying 1 or 2 people in places where you can't get traded. They're way too spread apart. People aren't getting these trades, and rounds that they really should have aren't happening.
It's not. And we have an interview for you now where we'll be able to get a little bit more insight from Six Karma.
Yeah.
Hi, guys.
Hi. Hello. A big win from you guys, as I can see everyone in the background. I do have to say, you had a really tough game against Astralis. I'm not saying, it was a tough game. They're a very good team. But, I mean, looking at that, what were you able to take from that game to really translate into a big bounce back win today?
Yes, of course, Astralis is a really good team, so we have our struggles. We are a new team, so we are like complementing each other. We are working on the chemistry, so it's really good for us to play these games, so we can work on that.
And I mean, Akabil, we know. I mean, we've talked about him so much today. A new pickup for you guys. I mean, how does having a player like him with his ability, his play style, really help you guys really in this game? Because to me, it looks like you play really a lot through him, and he's kind of the center of what you guys like to do. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yes, Akabil is a player that really brings magic to the team. He wins the rounds that maybe are lost. So that's the clutch situation that he's bringing to the team. So it really helps us when we are starting or struggling in between the rounds. He can help with that easy rounds that we can take from the other team.
Yeah, and a good question I think a lot of people might be interested in is you guys did call a timeout after round 7. It was after you guys won a round. So you were up 5-2 and you called a timeout. Why'd you guys call that timeout?
Yeah, because we are struggling in the early picks, so we try to make the guys understand that if we don't give that kills to the other team, we can take easy the round. So that's practically what we do on the timeout. So that was it. Just stay focused on the round and don't get big early.
Last thing, you guys now, big bounce back win. You're 1-1. How's the confidence feeling? How are you guys, really feeling looking towards the rest of the season?
We're really confident. We really like to play this tournament. We really like to win this tournament for our LATAM scene. We think that we had what it takes to take it. So it's just a question of time and that all the guys do the work like they know they can do it.
Yeah, and I think it's awesome you guys are playing. It's not really something we've seen before, teams in that LATAM region really coming up. So it's awesome to see that kind of mix of styles. But, I mean, that's really all I have. Good luck to you guys. Great performance from you. Good luck to you guys, the rest of the way.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Joe. And thanks also to the SCS organization for bringing this tournament to the scene. We really are glad to join to this tournament and play it. So thanks a lot to all of around the SCS.
And you love that. Love to hear it from the man himself.
Yeah. Definitely nice to get a bit of a peek under the hood, right? And to kind of get the idea of what's going on behind is very interesting. So, maybe we'll get to see a little bit more coming through from Six Karma in the future and what comes for them next, because obviously now that they are 1-1, that next game is going to be a little bit more spicy for them. It's going to be some of our losers from that initial win in their first round. There's a couple scary opponents that you might want to avoid later on.
Yeah, there definitely is, but we are going to go to a break because we have more games to go, so we will see you guys after that.
Collins on a double though, and he finds a third to the smoke. It's just an ult. Getting into 3K with an ult.
With 3 seconds left, Silent lands the pre-fire. Nobody can kill him in time.
He clutches it out. What a play from the Alibi as the lobby player goes on.